This movie's release date gave me psychic damage. Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Tales from the Hood 3. So, if you haven't seen my other Tales from the Hood reactions, I would definitely suggest checking them out, though this is an anthology series. You don't have to necessarily see the previous ones to enjoy this one. They are completely their own thing. For those who don't know, Tales from the Hood is an anthology series that focuses on horror through the eyes of the Black community. This is a reaction as part of our monthly movie week for Black History this month. And yeah, these movies center around Black culture and Black society and the horror that often comes through that. And you've seen talks about in the first one there was a lot of gang talk and a lot of talk about how all of that connects with how Black people are often treated. The second one touched on a lot of stuff with racism and whatnot and white supremacy. And you even had Keith David being in it. It centers around usually the starting kind of plot line centering around this person or group of people, and it all kind of connects to the devil in some way, who has been played by a different actor in the first two films. Keith David was the devil in the second one. And throughout the movie, within this framing device, you're told all of these other stories. In the first one, I believe, the 3 or 4 people who were coming into the funeral parlor where the devil was, stationed, you could say, I believe each of the stories was centered around them. In the second one, the stories were more spread out into their own things. But the themes of which did connect to the framing device's antagonist, this politician guy. And so then you have this one. And I don't know what this one's going to do for the framing device. I don't know who's going to be playing the devil in this one. And I don't know exactly what themes we're going to touch on. But I've very much enjoyed the first 2 of these. I like the I like horror with a tinge of political discussion to it, where it has a lot to say about the state of the world and the state of the people in the world. Um, Horror can sometimes be at its best when it is making a statement, to some degree. Um, but I can also enjoy horror that is just, for the sake of horror. um, but yeah, I enjoyed the first two of these. I think the second one was my favorite of the first two, and not just because of Keith David, but I think the messages and themes were like just really good in that one. And yeah, this is the final one, and like I said in the cold open, I kind of took psychic damage when I found out this came out in 2020. But that wasn't just that alone wasn't what gave me the psychic damage. It was then realizing that 2020 was almost a decade ago. Like, think about it. It's 2026. 2020, when COVID happened, was 6 years ago. Like, things were starting to be revealed about COVID around this time 6 years ago. At least, like, super publicly. Because, again, COVID had been known about for well before that, but. And yeah, it's 6 years is closer to a decade than not, so. It's wild to think about. It's so crazy to think about that was that long ago now. It makes me feel old. Because it's like, even though I'm just 34, it's like I have a issue with, growing older. It freaks me out, if I'm being honest. And so when I find out that this movie came out in 2020 and that 2020 was 6 years ago, almost a decade, it's just like, where the fuck did the years go? It just irreparably hurts to find that out. I mean, I guess to realize it. Because it's not something I just would have thought of, I guess. It's not something that, like, crossed my mind. But it's like, it's true, and that's insane to me. And I don't know, it freaks me out a bit. Sorry if I seem out of it, too. First thing I'm recording of the day, so it's just I'm a little out of it still. Still trying to wake up. But yeah. That's just, it's wild to me. And I don't think I said it yet, but Venom donated for this. I mean, not a huge surprise. Venom donates for most of the movies we react to, because Venom donates a lot. But, yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of horror we get this time, what kind of stories. Because if I'm remembering right, the first one had stuff like zombies and whatnot in it. The second one had like a ghost story and shit. I would like to see like some really like notable like horror aspects to this. Did either of the previous ones have werewolves? I like werewolves, and I would like to see werewolves. I don't know. Just other kind of horror stuff like that. Um, I don't know what to expect from this one. I think I talked about it in the previous ones. The one big thing I knew about these movies was the "Welcome to Hell, motherfucker" line from Keith David in the second one. Like, that's been memed like crazy. So I've heard it like a lot of places before I ever started watching these movies. But now I don't know pretty much anything. So I'm just hoping that the horror is good. I'm hoping that the commentary is good. And I'm hoping it's just enjoyable. I'm hoping it has like the fun, enjoyable tone that the first two had, while also again getting really serious about the messaging. Anyway, enough rambling. I do that enough anyway. So let's just get into this and see what we have in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts. We'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, just a blanket statement right off the bat. I do not think this is good as the second one. I think Tales from the Hood 2 is still the best. But I do really like it. I'd say it's probably on the same level as the first. Just in different ways and for different reasons. I like the framing device. In fact, this actually might be my favorite framing device of like the three of these movies. Because again, the first one you had the group of guys go into the funeral home. And there they met the funeral director, who by the end you find out is Satan. And he's telling them the stories, and it all connects to their lives and everything. And then you have the second one, where it's again the political rally stuff with the one candidate, and he's like hearing the stories from Keith David's character, who again is revealed to be the devil in the end. And so in this one, it's like the fact that the little girl is the one telling the stories kind of hints you in that she's going to be the devil. And I was already kind of thinking that. But I wasn't sure if they would like go that route, like actually have the devil be in the form of a kid here. But that's where they went. And the devil is usually talking to a soul that would already be in hell. And so Tony Todd, that means, would have to be, without knowing it, already in hell. And so I'm wondering the entire time while we're watching the bits of the framing device, which, by the way, according to this, is called where did it go? There it is. The Mouths of Babes and Demons, which is, what the hell? It's a bit much. But yeah, so I'm thinking the entire time while watching those little segments at the beginning, in between, and at the end before the reveal, like I'm thinking, like, is that where it's going? Like, he's going to be a bad guy, and the kid is going to be, you know, the devil. But at the same time, I'm thinking, like, this feels like it's presenting things very differently. Because it's the way it's presenting it. You have Tony Todd's character leading this girl, and I thought he was supposed to be her father, by the way. Until the end, it's like, it definitely made us think that he was her father. And they're running through the woods and this building, and like they're trying to escape the bad things and all. Which apparently he can't see, but she can. And she's telling him stories while they're going along, while trying to keep quiet, and he's telling her he's going to get her to her mother. And so it's like, you don't know where this is going. You don't know exactly what's going to be happening here. Because it feels very different as a framing device from the first two. But I was still thinking in the back of my mind, it's like, is this going to do the same thing? Because if it does the same thing, she's the devil, he's the bad guy. and it did turn out to do that. I didn't know what I wasn't even like really thinking of what he could have done if he was there and she was the devil. Um, but like when he pulls out the camera, it kind of clicked for me, and it just started to like oh, okay. Um, he's either going to assault her or going to kill her. One of the two. It's like there's a part of me that was glad it was just the killing, but at the same time, it's like also Jesus. But then it reveals everything, and it reveals he's in hell, and yeah, just the same old, same old. You even have the "Welcome to Hell, motherfucker" line. Again, I kind of wish the little girl said it though. I think it would have hit a little harder if it was in the little girl's voice. Um, I understand the writer directors of a movie not necessarily wanting to have a kid say like swear or and whatnot, but I feel like it's acting. It's a movie. It's not that big of a deal. It's like I feel like it would have been more impactful. Um, but yeah, Tony Todd was great as always. He was an absolute legend, and like yeah, it's just I said it in the reaction. It's always going to make me sad now to see him after his passing. He was so good, and I had no idea he was in this. Like the second one has Keith David, and now this one has Tony Todd. It's like that's such a good decision. Spike Lee made the right, or whoever the casting director is, I guess, made the right decision getting him. Of course, Spike Lee might have wanted him, for all I know. I don't know what the thought process with that was. Um, but yeah, I really like this framing device. I liked the one in Tales from the Hood 2 as well a lot. Both of them are better than the one from the first movie. But I feel this is also the least like the one that has the least like thematic messaging to it. Because obviously the one in number two had the thematic messaging with the politics angle, and in the first one it had like thematic messaging with like how crime doesn't pay and shit. I guess this one kind of has a similar theme, you could say, to that one, where it's like, yeah, crime doesn't pay. It's just you're just gonna go to hell. So, but it's like I don't know. It just didn't feel like it hammered it in as hard as it did with the other ones in terms of thematics. Maybe that's just me though. But let's actually talk about the different segments. So I have the thing here for the names of them. So the first one was Ruby Gates, which was the apartment complex in that one. Um, so we have David Burr, who is the owner of the complex, and Paul and Stacy Bradford, the parents, with their son Ethan, and then there's the boss Joe as well. So David is being pressured by his boss to evict the final family out of this apartment so they can bulldoze it and everything. And the family doesn't want to leave because Ethan, the son, is sick. He's got cancer. He's going through chemotherapy, and the family understands that, moving can be very stressful, and stress can actually hurt this, exacerbate it a lot. So they don't want to move while he's in the middle of all of this. David, though, is getting more and more desperate because his boss is like just threatening him. So he goes to a friend, I guess, who he's committed fraud with, insurance fraud with before, by burning down another building that he owned. Wonderful. Already shows that David is a criminal. And he gets him to do the same, to burn down Ruby Gates. Um, but it's supposed to be done in a way to where the family could get out in time. However, as we find out right away pretty much, the family did not get out in time. Paul and Ethan died, and Stacy was excessively burned to the point where she died not too long after in the hospital. Seeing her being wheeled out with like burned to a crisp pretty much, and screaming for her husband and son, and then seeing their like bodies covered up on the other gurneys, it's like Jesus fuck. And then Brad starts, or not Brad, David. I don't know why I thought Brad. David starts getting these mysterious calls of just a basketball bouncing like Ethan had been doing, and starts like seeing things, and it's a haunting. It's a haunting story, and it keeps getting worse and worse to the point where he's eventually led to the building and gets haunted by their charred spirits, and some in one or two scenes burning spirits coming after him until he eventually has a fall and is killed because of it. He's actually kind of like, the spirits kind of like blast him out a window, but still. And the spirits don't necessarily get to like move on in peace like we see with like the spirits in other segments of this of this movie. It shows them like just continuing to go back upstairs, and yeah, it sucks. It's really sad because of everything. But this one obviously touches on, you know, on David being kind of a dick to this family, even though he's like presenting himself in a nice way. It kind of goes with this one kind of goes more with what the girl was saying in the segment, I think, between this one and the next one. Because she was, or no, actually, I think Tony Todd's character says it. Like, evil can be like, can present itself as like really nice and shiny on the surface, which, by the way, should have been another hint that he was a bad guy. But yeah, I think that was more talking about this one rather than the one that was to come up afterwards. But yeah, so we see that he's, again, nice on the surface. He presents himself very well, but he's a bad person. Because even after like the after they died and everything, he went back to, you know, his friend who set the fire in the first place and killed him, because it's like, oh, you're gonna talk, you're gonna rat me out. And it's like, I can't take that risk, so I'm just gonna shoot you in cold blood with no hesitation whatsoever. It just shows that David was like a really terrible person from the get-go, and that his boss pressuring him wasn't actually like the problem. That he was just, you know, not a good person. So yeah, it was actually pretty scary. It had some really scary imagery, and like, I actually really liked how kind of seriously it took the scares, how seriously it took the imagery and all that. So yeah, I really liked that one. But then we had the bunker, and this one was really wild, because you're watching this guy, this like extreme racist redneck man who lives in a bunker, and he has like this like podcast thing going on where he's like ranting about the state of the country, ranting about, like, you know, racist bullshit and whatnot, the LGBTQ plus community, and he's just like, he's horrifically evil. He is horrifically, cartoonishly evil. The problem is there are people absolutely like this, who are this racist, who are this queer phobic. It sucks, and it shouldn't be the case. And it seems it seems very cartoony, very over the top. But unfortunately, there are people like this. It's unfortunately real. Um, and so he's like, he has these things like to stay off of his property. Um, One of the signs like says all lives matter, but he also like edited it to also say my life matters. And you see these people like looking in on him, but he doesn't like really acknowledge them. Or well, they don't acknowledge him really outside of just like looking at him. And there's a voice on the speaker that's like saying, "Oh, we're not supposed to be like upsetting him or whatever." Stuff like that. Um there's this one woman, this one white woman that he sees as well, and he or actually I think it was like she wasn't even white in the end, but he was like kind of like assuming because of what we'll talk about in a bit. But he's talking about how this white woman betrayed him and stuff, and like is in love with a black man, and he's like, just racist bullshit. He has sex dolls in his little bunker. Um he has a poster, just all kinds of paraphernalia. He gets food, which he claims is being delivered by his followers, his podcast followers. I know it's not technically a podcast; it's like a radio thing, but still, it's basically a podcast. We know what this is trying to like kind of represent. But we also know that that food's just being delivered by other people, which again we'll talk about in a second here. But it just shows him as like the worst of the worst, and like this just horrible, like cartoonishly evil, vile person. Also just gross. He's also just a gross person. And then at the end, he finally like he's getting like too aggressive. He's getting like he's starting to get really pissed at everyone around him, and so he comes out and tries to shoot at them, but it bounces off a force field back into his head. And it's revealed that one, he wasn't supposed to have live bullets because he's at a zoo. He is a literal exhibit at a zoo. It takes place, I guess, in a future of sorts, and this is a timeline where racists and whatnot, misogynists are like almost completely died out, and now they're put on display at zoos, at like human zoos, um, because they're like seen as like they're seen as animals, which they are absolutely. Like racists, misogynists, all these horrifically evil people are just animals. They're terrible. They're just they have a lack of humanity to them. They don't act human. And that's the point here. It's making a statement on, bigots and how inhuman they are. It compares them to wild animals, to just, not terrible, but you get the point. I'm bad at explaining things. I'm terrible at like trying to get my point across sometimes. This one was definitely the biggest surprise of the movie. Of any of the segments, this one definitely was the biggest surprise, because it's just like that didn't click with me at all. I did not anticipate that at all. I'm like seeing every shot of the bunker and everything, and I'm seeing him like doing his thing. I'm thinking like, oh, this is the police. They're watching him. They're making sure he doesn't do anything bad, or they're trying to like get him out of there because he's, I don't know, on someone else's land or something like that. That was my thought. I didn't anticipate the reveal at all, which is a good thing. It really kept me guessing and really like threw me off. Like that's what you would want something like this to do. And so in the end, he just kind of dies, and like the people watching are like, let's just go to the misogynist exhibit now. It's like they don't see him as human because he doesn't act like a human. He acts like an animal, like a creature, and that's the point. Um, I really like the reveal because it recontextualizes everything about the scene and makes it, or the segment, and makes it just that much more fascinating. And it just makes the themes hit even harder. So I really liked the bunker. I thought it was like just a really great segment. And then we have operatic. This one focuses on Chayla Simpson, and a pop singer who gets fired after she shows up her the singer she's working for as a backup singer. Ellipse, it says here. Yeah, she tries to upstage her. She ends up meeting Parks, who is a aspiring manager, and he tries to like get her to, you know, stardom. At least that's what he's promising. That he's going to bring her to stardom. He believes in her voice, and yeah, he he also, well, they fall in love with each other and start having sex and stuff. And during all of this, he also introduces her to a client of his or something like that, someone he's been working for. This woman named Marie Benoit, who is like this wealthy old woman. We don't know how she got her wealth. It never actually says that, but um, there's some things we can presume after everything, but um yeah, so he's been working for her, and he introduces her, and the idea is she's going to basically be a sit-in, like kind of friend of sorts, to just like spend time with her. And she does, and it gets annoying for her because the woman was a former opera singer and is very critical of like of Chayla's voice, but also likes to watch the same performance that she had back in, what was it, the 40s, something like that. What does it say here? Um, it doesn't specify here. Yeah, I think it was the 40s. It was a performance of her singing Carmen, and it's the only time she ever got to perform in public because like everything kind of worked out. She was like a third understudy or something, and the others got sick and she was able to take over, but it caused the end of her career before it even really started because of racism, because of racist people, um, bitching about it. But when Chayla starts to sing um for Marie, she insults her because she has no filter. Chayla imagines killing Marie, but holds back and just gets like really visibly and verbally upset instead. She and Park end up plotting this way to kill Marie to steal her fortune and everything. But after they supposedly do, using this blood transfusion plan, Marie starts having like these like nightmares and stuff, and she ends up waking up in Marie's body. Is obviously freaked out by the pain and everything because Marie had like um, long-standing pain in her body, which is why she was in the wheelchair, chronic pain and all. Um, and Park ends up coming and pushing her off the balcony, killing her, while it's also revealed that, yeah, the blood transfusion thing was some kind of ritual that caused Chayla and Marie to switch bodies. And so Marie is now in Chayla's body and is like able to, in the modern world, perform, is able to have the spotlight that she always wanted. We also find out that Park is her lover. And he's been using this black magic to stay young, to be able to help Marie find a new life in the future as well. And so that's fascinating. That's a fascinating reveal. That the entire time it was all a trick, that Chayla was lured into this to be a victim. It kind of reminds me of Get Out a little bit, you know? It kind of reminds me a bit of Get Out. It's not quite the same thing, but there is a similarity. This one was like really interesting. The ending bit, like the way it was presented, was a bit confusing. Because it's like it was unclear where the dream actually stopped while you're watching. And so I wasn't like really sure if they were still in a dream or not until pretty much when it ended. And this is a case of like one where the victim isn't actually that bad of a person. Like Chayla, like, yeah, planned on killing this woman for her fortune and all. But this was only after the woman had also, after Miss Benoit had, you know, insulted her to her face and had like forced her to like do all this stuff. And I that obviously doesn't excuse murder, but like initially this woman was just like a backup singer who got a little full of herself and tried to upstage, intentionally or not, the singer she was working for. So she didn't really do anything bad that would give God, I said his name multiple times and now I'm having trouble with it again. Parks. That would give Parks a reason to like see like, oh, she's not that great of a person anyway. So it's like she was an innocent person lured into this and was kind of like seemingly intentionally driven into like wanting to kill Miss Benoit so they could perform this ritual in actuality. It seems like Miss Benoit and Parks planned that from the start. Hell, even the continuous overwatching of the Carmen recording was probably because of that. It was probably to drive her insane, to make her more willing to do something. I could entirely believe it. It was a really fascinating one, and the twists at the end were definitely surprising. But it wasn't my favorite. But we move on, and the last one we have here is Dope Kicks, where we focus on a guy named Percy, who is a criminal bandit. And he does his crimes by going around in a hoodie to hide his like full identity and just punching people just randomly in the streets. He makes sure that there's no one else around and he punches them and sometimes even goes further in order to knock them out or knock them down and be able to steal their money and stuff. Because he's greedy. He's greedy, he wants like riches, he wants to be able to like just have it all, basically. It's like that Sharpay song from High School Musical 2. I think it's the second one. I Want It All. I think is what it's called. I think it's the second one. Anyway, point is, I know what a wild comparison to make. Tales from the Hood 3, High School Musical 2. But anyway, um, he's just a selfish, greedy person. He's also friends with someone else who's doing this with him. A lot of stolen goods and whatnot, and he ends up attacking this one guy who has these like limited edition fancy gold shoes. He steals from the guy's wallet, steals his shoes, and it seems like that's gonna be just another victim for him. However, um, he ends up he's seen this report on television of one of his previous victims, this old woman that he punched and stole from. He sees her daughter or granddaughter. It says daughter. The reporter says daughter, but it also says like my grandma. So I don't know. But the woman, either way, is upset and places a curse on him to feel the pain of his victims and everything. And so he starts getting sick. He's not able to take off the shoes, and things just progress from there. Things get even crazier as it goes on. It starts as like sickness with him shitting his pants and stuff. It goes into stuff like his joints locking up, and you see like just all kinds of stuff over and over and over, one after another. And he starts to see these visions as well. He sees a car crash and sees an angel like seemingly taking the soul of the victim of the car crash away. But he also sees these like creatures around him, um, which we later find out are demons. And so things are getting a little spooky, a little like weird, a little crazy. And again, it's getting progressively worse and worse and worse as it goes along. He eventually is told, when he ends up finding the woman and her mother slash grandmother, he's told that, yeah, he's told about the curse and what was put on him. And the only way to stop it at this point is to find the body of the person he killed, because it's revealed that the person with the shoes, he actually killed him when he attacked him like that. Um, and so he tries to go to the mortuary, to get to the body, like right when it's about to be dissected and stuff. He tries to get in there, but while he's talking to the one guy, the other woman, because she's in a rush to get to her anniversary or something, starts to cut into the body, and the cuts start appearing on him, on Percy. The same cuts in the same way, and it cuts really quickly after that. It cuts really suddenly. The scene, the segment, but it's like implied he's either going to be tortured or he's just going to die and go to hell and stuff. So yeah, not great, not great. But this was another case of like a crime doesn't pay kind of situation, but also like I'm trying to think of a way to word this, like receiving the same punishment, the same kind of pain you deal out. It's kind of like like with the golden rule being like, oh, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. In this case, what things are being done unto him that he's done unto others. So, yeah. This one has a lot of good irony to it, and him facing the repercussions of his actions. Um, it's it's a really fascinating one, for sure. And I kind of like the reveals of it, but it's nothing like special. It doesn't like really stand out to me. in terms of like the scariness of it or the intensity or just any of that really. It's not one that I really have much to talk about. I enjoyed it well enough. I didn't like hate it, but nothing about it was like that special either. So, to talk about all of them though, I think my favorite is probably Ruby Gates. Outside of like the framing device, the Ruby Gates one I think was the scariest. It was also the most impactful and interesting to me. Um, I really liked the bunker as well, though, because of the reveals and everything. I thought were like really fun, even if a lot of it was so cringe and hard to watch. I think Dope Kicks actually might be my least favorite. If I had to say a least favorite out of them, I think it might be Dope Kicks. It just didn't hit me in the same way that the others did. The others just felt more interesting to me, while Dope Kicks was just kind of a weak point in the overall thing. And the Mouths of Babes and Demons, the framing device, I really liked. I thought it was really good. I had a lot of fun with it, and Tony Todd's performance was, of course, great. It was also another one like the Ruby Gates one that was actually scary. In fact, I think the framing device and Ruby Gates were the only ones that were actually scary, that actually had some like frightful imagery and intense seriousness to the tone, the scary tone it was trying to go for. And so, yeah, that's my thoughts on this one. It didn't. I feel like it didn't have as much to say as number two did. Number two felt a lot more like in your face with a lot of the themes, and there were definitely a lot of themes here, especially in the bunker one. The bunker was the most like heavily thematic, or at least the most in your face with its thematicness. Um, all of them did have themes that they touched on, and all of them did have like notable, um, just focuses with those lessons and whatnot. But it was a little pulled back on compared to the second one. I feel like Spike Lee, and everyone who worked on this just kind of like took a little bit of a back step compared to the second one. And I don't know if it's because of reception that the second received due to how on the nose it was, but yeah, it's one of those cases where I think the second one did it better. So I still say that the second is the best of this trilogy. And to my knowledge, there are no more of these. Like it's just the trilogy. I don't know if there's plans to ever make another, or if it's just going to be the three. But I really did enjoy this as a whole. I had fun with this one, and I hope to see like just more movies like this, more more really good like not just anthology films, not just horror anthologies, but also just films that have like good theming and messaging to them and are trying to make a statement, make a point. And so yeah, yeah. Not my favorite, but again, I think I'd equate it to about the same level as the first one. The second is still like just much better. But at least we got to see a great performance from the late great Tony Todd, and that's always worth it. So tell me what your thoughts are of this movie down in the comments below, and thank you so much as always for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.